Yeah, I think like we talked about last night, a lot of people failed this family, you
The
know?
state failed them for many, many years.
Yeah.
That's where it starts out with, brother. The state has known about them since the 70s, and they've
Wow.
never stepped up and done anything except gave them a check.
Wow.
And there's never been any complaints that come out of there. Nobody has ever called APS or CPS or DHHR and complained about them. And so
Wow.
no complaints, crickets. You know what I mean?
Just
Like
let them
what?
live.
Yeah, like what is the old saying? Like the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not hearing anything and it's crickets and it's quiet, then they turn a blind eye to that situation for a lot of years. When I think that there's like a double-edged sword there, because APS will tell you we got to have a complaint to go investigate. We can't just go
Yeah,
solicit
that's
on
like
our own.
prying into their lives then, yeah.
Right, right. And so
Yeah.
nobody ever complained about them for all these years. So when I say
That's
the state
very
failed
hard to
them,
believe too. Yeah, a lot of people
they
failed them.
knew about some health issues that they maybe could have like pried into. Because I mean, whenever I think it was Ray or Freddie, which one got bit by a rattlesnake?
They think it was
Was
Ray.
it was it Ray? Ray got bit by a rattlesnake and had to come up here to the hospital about 6, 5, 6, 7 years ago or whatever, and maybe it was longer than that ago. But anyway, we everybody here knows about them, and everybody here knows what's going on down there. But like I said, they've just out of sight, out of mind, and so they just give them all a check, and they
Yeah.
they didn't never go, and they're not the only family. I'm going to tell you guys, I don't want to mention any last names of a family, but there's a place that's called Amigo Holler
Okay.
in Raleigh County. Well, is it in Raleigh or Wyoming County? It's in Raleigh County. So Amigo Holler is in Raleigh County, and that is a holler of families that's similar to the Whitakers. They live similar to the Whitakers, and they're a little bit rougher than the Whitakers. I mean, like
Really?
you go down there and they'll bop you in the back of the head and take your car and your four wheeler and your wallet, and
Damn.
that's the truth about that. There's a lot of rough stuff going on down in that place, and
Damn.
when the cops go down there, they take like the armored van and like 4 carloads just to go get one dude. It's
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
and
That's it.
but CPS only goes down there and gets involved with those kids when somebody calls on them.
Yeah.
They don't
I
just
think
go
what
snooping
people I
around.
think a lot of people were calling on the Whitakers too. I think
Well, they
people
were
were calling
worldwide
the Whitakers.
famous.
Yeah, calling on the Whitakers. They were getting trolled. I heard people were calling Betty's house and phone number and threatening
When I'm
her.
down there, that phone does not stop ringing.
Wow.
I mean, just caller IDs from all over the country all day long.
I'm telling you guys, please don't do that. If you're in this chat, don't do that to Betty, guys. It's not
And I
cool.
said something to them about changing their number the other night. I said, you guys ought to think about changing your number. And they said, that'd be weird because we've had the same number since like 1973 or something. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, like this is like, this would be just weird. And I said, well,
Do you speak it?
Damn, stupid thing.
you know,
I'm trying to
what's
see.
what's more important, weird numbers or, having a weird phone number or, having some peace because there is none,
Yeah. So they
not
said that
down there.
Timmy, I think like the school system and things kind of failed them too. Like Timmy to go through all the way through school and graduate. And
Yeah.
it just seems that a lot of people skipped over what they could have stopped a long time ago. Or I don't know, maybe they just feel like we do. And we're not the ones to take them out of their families. I would
Well,
never want to strip someone out of their family.
the I'll explain something to you that maybe will help you guys understand a little something. This might put a little bit, I might put my buddy on the spot here, but so the guy that I'm visiting at the hospital, him and his wife are foster parents.
Okay.
And they know a lot about how the foster system works and how CPS works. And when people call CPS and the kids are taken and then they're placed in custody of the state and then they're placed in foster homes, whether it be permanently or temporarily or whatever. And so a lot of the information that I get on how does the APS CPS system work and what are the requirements actually comes from this guy laying right here in his hospital bed. And, because that's the first people I called and I was like, what do they need to do when we go to court? When we go to court next week, what do they need to do? And they were like, there's nothing you can do for that house because you have to have plastic plug-in covers. You got to have fire escapes. You got to have fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, the ladder, and like that house is never going to pass. Like it needs
Yeah.
burnt down. It needs burnt down, and they need a whole new double wide across the street that's ADA compliant. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. So then when we got that confirmation from the lady at the courthouse, the clerk of court who told us like, this is what you guys, this is the direction that you guys are going to have to take if you want to see the family or if Betty wants to request custody of them, you
Hmm.
know. But the way that the APS and CPS works in this state, and that's where I was going with talking about him,
Right.
they don't come knock on your door. They wait for a complaint. When a
Hmm.
complaint comes in, if it's more than one, because these people get pissed off at each other around here. And like Susie gets mad at
Oh,
Jenny,
they do it
and
here
she's
too.
like, I'm gonna call CPS on you,
Yep.
you bitch. And then she calls CPS and goes, yeah, Jenny lets her kids run around in the road. Well,
Yep.
that's bullshit. But if they get 2 or 3 complaints, what they call blanket complaint, isn't it called blanket complaints or something? They get blanket complaints where like multiple people call
Yeah.
from different addresses that aren't connected, then they go look into it. And then when they've determined that there's, cause to, start giving them guidelines like this is what you need to fix, or if it's drug related, we're going to take the kids or whatever, then that's when they put them in state's custody. And then state looks for people like my friend here who will put them in their home either permanently or temporarily.
Gotcha.
And in this case, nobody called until they became worldwide famous and all this shit was going on. So when Mark filmed them, they got a few phone calls like, hey, I'm concerned about the Whitakers. Like, are they really all right down there? And they're like, yeah, they've been doing that shit for 40 years. Then when this Patrick and Eric stuff started, Eric, now this is my opinion. This is not
Okay.
slander. This is based off of what I have
Yeah,
seen with my
everything
own
is
2 eyes.
all fucking allegedly here.
Eric started contacting APS off the jump when he came up here and was seeing with his own 2 eyes, and he was mortified what was going on here, because to us, I've seen multiple houses that look like the Whitakers. I don't live like that, but I've been in multiple houses that do,
Well,
and
looking
that's
from the
kind of like a
outside,
normal down in that
from the
area,
outside, it doesn't look as bad as it does from on the inside. So anybody on the
Right.
outside is not going to notice it anyway.